The modern investor is the GOAT, bro. Honestly, now that while I was thinking back, I think he's the one who set me on the path of the Ripple and XRP journey. I think he was one of the only guys covering it and not just like blowing it off. He was like, oh, these guys, it's interesting. These guys are like working with the banks and stuff. He was my gateway into this whole thing. So shout out Modern Investor. But get ready for a long, exhausting, multi-year crypto bull run. Bitcoin going to 1 million a coin.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
As of late, we have procured an enormously large amount of news revolving around the idea, nearly specifically, of where Bitcoin is going to go. The general consensus, if not the entirety of the consensus, understand that in previous bull runs, there was always a good 70-30. 70% would be, yeah, Bitcoin's going to do great. And then the 30%, if you weren't here years ago, thank your lucky stars, these people were exhausting. Some days,
it was everybody.
Some days Bitcoin would go up by 7%, and these people would write articles, well, that was it. Bull run's over. Bitcoin's falling back down to 2,000, and it was like,
yeah, for real.
On what basis? Like, what are you talking? I mean, this was Hans, and there were always these people, and then they would feel somehow vindicated when like the bull run would end and start going, I told you it was going to. It was like, no, you told us 38 weeks ago that was going to happen. So now the complete.
I was there too. Thanks to him, dude. Shout out.
Bitcoin is doing something and is going to do something big in the very near future. We are nearing.
They just pull numbers out of their ass, though.
The point where we heard earlier this year from 47 analysts that by the time we get to November and December, do you remember?
Yeah.
Bitcoin is, so they say, supposed to be anywhere between $250,000 and $50,000 per coin.
See, my red flag, because I've been focusing on that a little bit more lately, too. We talk about it in the video. Sailor's out promoting it. Tom Lee's out promoting it. All these analysts have been promoting it, but they've also been wrong a ton of times throughout this year, because then they were saying like, oh, we might get the summer fury of really good price. Like, just a bunch of... Everyone was throwing stuff at the wall, but the general consensus about these last 2 months are that they're supposed to be crazy. Eric Trump talking about it, but every time he said it's gone down. Things can get pushed when we're talking about the world money. Could get pushed into Q1 2026, because I think that's when the Fed's turning that money printer back on.
It's $500,000 US per coin. Apparently, according to recent analysis, it appears that, and we've heard this before, it's had many different names. Mega, Omega, what was the other one? Godzilla. Yeah, remember someone said Godzilla candles.
Yeah,
people are now talking about that we have entered into
that's what we want.
A super cycle ignition for Bitcoin. That Bitcoin, during this scope of range of time, is on its way to $360,000 per coin. The most interesting part being that falls almost directly in the middle of $250,000 and $500,000 that we've also been hearing about. We were talking about this around June or July. I told you before, because everyone else said it, that September and October are meant to be.
I wonder what his stance is. Like, he does seem pro Bitcoin, but I don't think I've ever heard him like rebuttal the big questions surrounding Bitcoin. Like, I wonder what his outlook on that is.
It's supposed to be not only the time for all the potential approvals for the 380,000 ETFs that are all lined up, but also for the momentum for Bitcoin and Ethereum. The idea behind Ethereum revolves around all the banks building their stable coins on top of its block.
But even what he just said right there, right? The Bitcoin narrative is its value is getting value because people are just throwing their money into it. It's not valued on any sort of like, I don't know, just utility. It just has value because they say it has value. But granted, now there's all sorts of arguments for its intrinsic value. But if you get something that is limited cap, limited supply, that's the big thing, is decentralized. You know, it's you see money. They can't print you out of thin air. Okay, there's Bitcoin. But then there's the same thing with XRP, but it has a very, very high utility. A limited cap, deflationary. What would then be, and it's decentralized on the XRP ledger is decentralized. Ripple just leverages that for their businesses. Why wouldn't eventually XRP dethrone it? That's my big question. It's only valuable now because everyone's pouring their money into it. That's the motto. It's like, I don't know. It just sounds like a house of cards to me. But Bitcoin yet again, just like him, I think Bitcoin's going to hit some of these stratospheric numbers, in due time, but only because people are just putting their money in it. But I don't know, maybe I guess that's the fucking proposition. Like, you could just park your money there, but you could do that in the same form but better. XRP, in my mind, I just don't get it.
If Ethereum does well, if Ethereum goes to 8,000, if Ethereum goes to $15,000 US per coin, as many analysts have suggested, this would of course create one of the craziest bull cycles and altcoin seasons that we have ever seen in the same exact breath. Do you remember? You must, because it's all that we've been hearing about. The last few weeks have been a little weird because multiple companies and institutions, everything has come out to announce in some form or fashion. It's the B word, that Bitcoin is becoming boring. The idea being is that according to them, we are probably not going to see any major, dramatic, quick, fast, awesome, insane movement
because it doesn't
for
do
Bitcoin
anything.
or the wider cryptocurrency market's price, but this will cause a slow movement upward over the course of the next few years, lending to this idea that Bitcoin's cycles are over. You've heard it before. Here it is again because it's everywhere in the news. The weirdest part that I find about this is that, once again, that 70-30 thing. But this time it seems like almost everyone is now on the same page regarding the future of Bitcoin. Everyone, the majority of analysts and institutions have kind of all gotten on board with this idea of a boring Bitcoin or a long, drawn-out, extended cycle, which would basically flop us into the next cycle and nothing would really change except for like the movements upward in price as we see more companies accumulating crypto. This is an analytical company called Bernstein. It doesn't really matter. We've heard from them before, and their predictions about the crypto... I just smacked my hand onto the table. And about the cryptocurrency market and where things are going to go. As you might have imagined, the news that we've been getting quite recently, they're saying the exact same thing. Bernstein analysts say that they are expecting the current cryptocurrency bull market or crypto rally to extend for several more years. You heard
Raoul Pal is calling for that too, but he thinks it follows like the business cycle and the M2 and all these stuff. We're gonna get a good run, a little bit extended run. He's thinking into like Q1, Q1 2026, and then we're gonna have a pullback just like we always do. That's always gonna happen. And then I think we're going to get another big leg up. That's what he thinks, and that's what a lot of these guys are thinking
that correctly. What would normally happen is, and I mean, once again, by the time we get to April, it'll be crystal clear what's happening. Because normally by January is when we see like the drop-off.
Yeah.
If we're in April and prices are still up and we haven't experienced a 60% drop in prices, then every single one of these companies has been correct. They're expecting the crypto rally to extend for several more years.
Oh, I'd love
forecasting
it.
what they describe as a long crypto bull market continuing into 2027.
Oh, that'd be beautiful for us,
we find
though.
ourselves in a bit of a time-warped pickle here. Because earlier this year, we heard an abundance of news about companies entering into the space. This then led to ideas of Bitcoin pumping rapidly. But as we've seen over these years, a lot of the accumulation, and I say slow with a small s, has been rather slow, the accumulation from these companies. Even when they announced that we've purchased 15,000 Bitcoin, it has been under the umbrella of, over 2 weeks we made these purchases, and now we're telling the public because they didn't want to essentially rock the crypto boat. I will leave you with this.
That's a good point.
Every company saying the exact same thing. To me, this all feels a bit weird because I'm used to our normal cycles. It's all that we've had before. As long as any of us have been in this market, even when you weren't in the market, you remember seeing the news, oh, the market's going up and then it falls down. There's a lull period for 3 years of rich people buying up as much crypto as possible. And this is what I know we've become accustomed to. It's all that we've known. So it feels like we've entered a brand new something. I say that because it's one thing for one company to say it. It's another for two to say, yeah, it looks like the cycles might be different. 16 companies, a bunch of banks, hedge funds, people who are looking at the market saying that something is definitely different, and it shifted since we got the Bitcoin ETFs last year. There is some kind of credibility to all of this then from these people saying it. I don't think they'd be saying it because they're like, I like time going forward. Let's say 2027. It just wouldn't really. So yeah, I assume we are going to have, over the coming weeks, we're going to have a lot more news like this. If all these companies are saying the exact same thing, I assume other ones are maybe testing the waters, seeing where their charts are saying things are going, looking at the actual movements. We have, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember in the last 4 or 5 months, I can't remember any companies actively announcing, like, okay, bull market's over in December. All right, bull market. We had a lot of energy around September.
I mean, the sentiment amongst like retail is it's not all of us, but it's over. I don't even think it's as bad. Like, I don't know. I just don't see how people can really claim any of this bear market energy because we're down at what, 250 right now, 250 from 350, and literally everything is looking perfect on the horizon. How could you not be bullish?
October, regarding the ETFs and yada yada, and the SEC's rule changes, and we had a lot of
money
energy
printing,
around summertime, July for
China trade deal,
and the stablecoin bill, like that.
Ripple becoming a bank,
I don't remember in
the
recent memory
bills.
any of these analysts saying, okay, the charts look exactly the same. It looks like we're on the same path. It looks like the market's going to do A, B, C, and D, and by December 31st, Kaplawi. We have only had extended, I mean, even from Novogratz, from Tom Lee, from
yeah, but I don't like. That's the thing. Those guys, we've gone through so much content recently, like not debunking, but like shining light on their agendas and everything. I don't know, like taking their word. You got to take their word with a grain of salt. That's exactly what we've kind of been, or I've been kind of poking holes in my logic when watching the way they navigate. Watch one of the recent videos I did about Brad and Tom Lee, literally a couple of days ago at like the big financial conference thing, and they're talking, and Tom Lee is desperately trying to keep the Bitcoin narrative only Bitcoin. So Brad says like, hey, just think like, utility, like as we approach the utility, I think that's where the value is going to go in the protocols that deliver on like a really important function. And Tom Lee saw deer in the headlights, cut him off, and then pivoted the question to this other guy and like talking about Bitcoin. They got a big Bitcoin in the back. If someone and these people, you got to take into consideration CNBC. Are they your friend? What is their interest? What are the people saying on there? What are their interests? Tom Lee's sitting on a fat stack of Ethereum and probably Bitcoin, has connections and ties to JP Morgan. Michael Saylor's whole livelihood and everything is literally on Bitcoin. So when these guys walk around and they're saying, buy Bitcoin, you never sell Bitcoin, that's what Saylor's tweeting. You never sell, you only buy, you only sell, oh, never, never. You at least have to raise your eyebrow at that and think a little bit deeper about why things are the way they are. You got to see these people's motives when they're peddling this constant thing of like buy. Yet again, that doesn't mean the Bitcoin price will not go higher. Doesn't mean that. It's just in my mind, I question like some of the core promises of it, because in my mind, I look at this whole thing essentially kind of like, I think Bitcoin gets dethroned in the future. That's what I think. That out of all I've been in since 2017. And, I'm sure some of these guys disagree. And that's the narrative that they try to purport, is that like the mainstream media and all that, like Bitcoin's in a class of its own. It's a completely different thing, but it's like something like the XRP ledger is an upgraded Bitcoin. Is it not? Pull the stats and stacks up, but then Ripple being in the equation taints the whole thing for these people. But the ledger itself is decentralized. Bitcoin is obsolete tech just on that front, as the goalpost keeps moving for the narrative. Pay attention to the narrative shift, dude, where it's gone from its promise to now. There is better technology. Technologically, there are things that are better. And people point to the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network, yeah, I mean, whatever, it's a cool upgrade, but it's like, yet again, put that tech stack up against something like the XRP ledger technologically, and where does it stand? It's like, I don't see it this way. I just don't.
Sabbatha? What's her name? Kathy Wood. Sabbatha's crazy. Now, Bitcoin in 2028, multiple millions. We don't get there from a drop in price. It's kind of a slow movement upward. If you haven't seen Plan B's charts and his numbers, it also counts towards I think his numbers are $500,000 to $1 million Bitcoin in the next couple of years as well, like before the next halving. So something has shifted. We do not know what. We will all be here for the journey together, I assume. By next spring, this should be crystal clear. We've either completely gone parabolic in November, December, and in January, we fall back down. Or by March, we're all sitting here wondering why Bitcoin's still at 210,000, and we're kind of, waiting to see what happens. But it does make sense. There are hundreds of companies, public companies, who have announced that they're buying billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Even the other private companies behind the scenes, no one knows how much they're buying. We also know that countries are actively buying. Don't forget that always. And the ETFs continue to accumulate more as well. So something's up. Yeah. Another company has expected a very long. They said they foresee a long, exhausting bull run for crypto markets. I mean, I'm not disappointed by any stretch of the imagination.
I would be
we're not used to this.
Over the moon.
We usually have a good 4 or 5
November
months
it's taken off.
We don't typically have 2 and a half, 3 years of nonstop movement upward. So, yeah, let's see if we actually have that $1 million Bitcoin by 2028.
Hey, let's hope.
In the market, guys.
That would be beautiful. Yet again, that doesn't mean I don't want Bitcoin to do well. I own some Bitcoin, XRP. Were my intro to this market thanks to this guy.
I think that's going to do it for this video, everyone. I do hope that you've all been doing well. Hope you're all remembering to take care of yourselves. Hope you're all remembering to do something nice for yourselves. Watch an old movie. Go get some ice cream. Go call a friend. Do something that puts a smile on your face. There's a lot going on right now. You got to make sure to entertain yourself and be happy and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, bro, I'm really not trying to make this like an anti-Bitcoin anything. It's just genuinely me asking the questions, and no one can really seem to provide a good answer that would convert me to solely, I think they're both going to do well yet again on the assumption, because that's what Brad is talking about when he's on stage with something like Tom Lee, and Tom Lee just immediately skirt, I'm not even going to entertain that, not because it seems like it pokes a giant hole in the whole argument of it all. It's just, yeah, Bitcoin's going to go up because people are just buying it. All right, why are they buying it? Because it's It's money that can't be printed. It's decentralized money essentially. Okay, so it's the XRP ledger, and it actually like can settle transactions. It's got the volume, like, but it's centralized. It's not centralized. Yeah, Ripple has an escrow, and most likely a lot of the escrow is allocated. Not maybe not most of it. A good chunk of it, I'd bet, is pre-allocated. They got 1,700 NDAs. You don't just write NDAs for a bunch of crap, dude. 1,700, and people pointing that like, oh, they haven't amounted to anything, dude. When you got a company going after something as important as literally the world's money, they're going after. They bought G Treasury, hit and run prime brokers. They're trying to become a bank. They're trying to set up the infrastructure so that this whole digital asset ecosystem can run and strive. Like they're building the businesses to actually implement the technology, and they're utilizing the XRP ledger. That's what they're utilizing. They don't own it. They don't own the XRP ledger. The ledger is decentralized. There's nothing more I would love though than waking up and see a 200K Bitcoin, because you know what that does to the price of everything else. You also got to ask questions about Tether. People leave Tether out of the equation. Tether is what propped up Bitcoin. Tether has never had a proper financial audit. They've presented like the bare kind of minimums when it comes to audit, but they've never had a full deep audit. So that's a big question to at least ask and wonder. Why was it offshore? Why now do they have, what did Bo Hines from the White House have to go to Tether to create a US compliant stablecoin to meet the genius? Because Tether has never passed an audit. Like, it doesn't meet the new strict requirements. Bitcoin could, not financial advice. That's just, in my mind, I can't. Could be the biggest rug pull of a lifetime. Doesn't mean it is. Who's Satoshi Nakamoto? Don't worry about it. But don't worry about it. He's a single guy. He made a libertarian guy. Boom, took off. No questions asked. When was Bitcoin created? October 31st, Halloween, 2008, right after the financial crisis. Oh, that's interesting. How many coincidences do you gotta like line up before you at least question it a little bit? You know. Again, I'm not anti-Bitcoin. It's just I could be converted if there were like good enough arguments to all that stuff, and like realistic arguments, you know? Guys, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications, and you can support on Patreon by becoming a group in the Minutemen. That's the subdivision of this XRP army. You could do that by clicking the link in the description. I got all Patreon exclusive videos up there, dropping them weekly. Gonna be doing some exclusive live streams over there. Gonna be opening the Discord. Gonna make a Discord soon, and that's gonna be how you join. You got to be a member of the Minutemen. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next one.